We began our trip in Dublin. MacDade's Literary Pub. It was formerly a Moravian church and a morgue. It became the haunt of Irish writers in the 1940s and 50s. Fitzwilliam Square, the second of the Georgian squares in Dublin, a square being a green area surrounded by terraced Georgian homes. A Georgian home typically had a wide front door to allow women to pass through with the voluminous dresses of the day. The buildings tended to be made of red brick and to be 4 stories high, with the windows decreasing in size as they got higher. Government offices in Dublin. The centre buildings contain the offices of the Taoiseach, or Prime Minister of Ireland. Built in the early 1900s, it was the last public building in Dublin built under the British government. St. Stephen's Church is also known as the Pepperpot Canister Church. Oscar Wilde in Merrion Square, the third of Dublin's Georgian squares. Fusiliers Gate, leading into St. Stephen's Green, the largest of Dublin's 5 Georgian squares. Rock of Dunamaise, a 12th century castle in County Laois. County Laois vistas in the Irish Midlands. Birr Castle Prospect in Offaly. The Birr Castle Observatory contained a 72-inch telescope built in the 1840s. It was the largest telescope in the world at the time and was used to map the moon. Giant sequoia in the Birr Castle Gardens. The garden's 300-year-old boxwood hedge is the tallest in the world. The keep of Athenry Castle in County Galway is an example of an old Norman castle. The Corner Tower. Remnants of the Great Hall. The Clarenbridge River used to form a moat around the castle. O'Connor's Pub in Salt Hill, Galway. Martin digging peat in Connemara. Dan O'Hara's homestead in Connemara. A poachine toast with Dan O'Hara. We visited the Aran Islands in Galway Bay. The Aran Islands are Gaelic-speaking. Kilronan is the capital of the Aran Islands. Abbey of the Seven Churches on Inishmore, the site of an old Roman school dating back to the 9th century. Dunangus Fort on Inishmore. Inishmore from Dunangus, the 9 by 2-mile island with 3,000 miles of stone fences. Harvesting peat in Blackwater Bog. The peat is used to generate electrical power. The bog is part of the larger Allen Bog that covers about 400 square miles of the Irish Midlands in parts of 4 counties. The peat in this area was removed about 20 years ago and has left a lake that is approximately 2 meters deep. Cross of the Scriptures, the High Cross of Clonmacnoise.
Temple Connor was built and endowed with lands and riches by King Cathal. Now to imagine what that early monastic settlement looked like. But archaeological research is recovering the outline of its timber buildings and adding to our knowledge of daily life in the monastery. In its developed form, Clonmacnoise was a site of great complexity, covering an area of more than 10 acres. But all this wealth of architecture and learning came under vicious attack. Between the 8th and 12th centuries, fire ravaged Clonmacnoise 13 times, and the Vikings plundered it on 8 occasions. Irishmen attacked it 27 times, and the Anglo-Normans 6. After each assault, the monks rebuilt, although 12th century church reforms considerably reduced the influence of Clonmacnoise. During the great building boom of the 15th century, the figures of St. Dominic, St. Patrick, and St. Francis appear on the new cathedral doorway. The English garrison at Athlone finally reduced it to a ruin in 1552.
Cathedral at Clonmacnoise.
The Round Tower. The River Shannon. The Nuns' Church. Remnants of Clonmacnoise Castle. Newgrange in County Meath. Passage tombs at the Mound of Knowth. Decorated curbstones around the mound. December 21st, the winter solstice, was the greatest festival of the year. Most of the celebrants stayed outside, but a small group of elders entered the tomb to witness the union of sunlight with the souls of their ancestors. As the sun rose at the winter solstice, a beam of sunlight entered the tomb. The Drogheda city gates. St. Peter's Cathedral in Drogheda. The burned head of Oliver Plunkett in St. Peter's Cathedral. The Giant's Causeway. The Giant's Causeway is composed of hexagonal crystals of basalt. The Derry city wall was the last city wall to have been built in Europe. The Bogside area in Derry was destroyed during the Troubles but has since been rebuilt. The British Army base in Derry is surrounded by green steel fencing and numerous surveillance cameras. A downtown street in Derry. We stayed at Greenmount Lodge near Omagh. Kilkenny. Butler House Gardens.
Kilkenny Castle.
River Nore in Kilkenny. Rock of Cashel, seat of the kings of Munster dating back to 360 AD. It was here that King Angus was baptized by St. Patrick. Tipperary countryside from the Rock of Cashel. The main Gothic cathedral was built in the 1200s. The Cross of St. Patrick. Breakfast at the Garnish House in Cork. Bantry. The Beara Peninsula, part of the Ring of Kerry. Ely Pass. County Cork from the Healy Pass. County Kerry from the Healy Pass. Muckross House was built in 1843 and donated to the state in the 1940s. Kinsale. The perfect harbor is seen from Fort Charles. A visit to the Middleton Whiskey Distillery. We ended our trip seeing how Waterford Crystal is produced.